Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you details of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about electronic waste management. Now, electrical and electronic equipments have become an essential part of our everyday life. Its availability and widespread use has enabled much of the global population to benefit from higher standards of living. However, the way in which we produce, consume and dispose of e-waste is unsustainable. E-waste contains several toxic additives or hazardous substances such as mercury, brominated flame retardants, which are known as BFR, CFCs and HCFCs as well. Now, the increasing level of e-waste, low collection rates and non-environmentally sound disposal and treatment of this waste pose significant risks to the environment and to human health as well. Improper management of e-waste also contributes to global warming. According to Global E-Waste Monitor 2020, the world generated a striking 53.6 million tons of e-waste in 2019, which is an average of 7.3 kilogram per capita. Now, the growing amount of e-waste is mainly fueled by higher consumption rates of electronic equipments, short life cycles, and few repair options. Since 2014, the number of countries that have adopted a national e-waste policy, legislation or regulation mechanism has increased from 61 to 78. In India, e-waste management rules were notified in March 2016 for providing environmentally sound systems for disposal of e-waste. Today in this show, we will discuss and analyze various aspects of this issue, and for us to understand this in a much better way, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with, we have with us Mr. Shekhar Sharma in the studio. He is the CEO of Hindustan e-waste management. We're also joined by two more guests. Ms. Ashwika Kapur is joining us, science communicator and filmmaker. We're also joined by Dr. Suneel Pandey, Director, Environment and Waste Management at TERI. Welcome all of you to Sansad Television. Let me begin with you, Dr. Pandey, and let's first start by, trying to address the biggest question. All of us know what e-waste, that is electronic waste, is, but how big is the problem? I had given some numbers from 2019, but how big really is the issue?
Thank you, Vishal. The numbers are more or less correct. They are estimated numbers, though, largely based on sales, because in very few cities or very few places, the actual inventory is carried out. But numbers are more or less correct. I would like to say that this is actually one of the fastest growing waste streams, because the way our usage of electronic material is increasing. And as you said earlier, short life cycle of these products and rapid change in technology, rapid change in software is ensuring that the people change their electronic products more often than desired many times.
Okay.
So there's a rapid increase, and this is, as digitalization is also increasing, more and more people are getting connected, and so more and more products are coming to market, and when they become waste, it's one of the fastest growing waste streams.
Okay. Ashwika, do you agree there that these all are the aspects, and it seems to be becoming a bigger challenge with each passing day?
Absolutely. Look at the amount of temptation. The temptations are endless. Like today you've got a 5.1 inch, tomorrow you want half a centimeter more, and then after that you want half a micrometer more. I mean, the temptations of electronics now, whether it comes to 1 megapixel more or 1 inch more, it's just endless. So having said that, because that temptation is so huge, obviously the amount that is being consumed is enormous, and managing that equally becomes that much more enormous.
Okay.
So absolutely, totally echo what Mr. Pandey was saying.
Okay. Let me bring in Shekhar here as well. Shekhar, this is a vicious cycle. The consumers would want more, the producers will provide more options, the technology will keep on changing and developing with each passing day. Today we have a set of technology that changes perhaps 6 months down the line, and then let's not forget, as Ashwika was pointing out, the consumers' chance or the consumer behavior to go in for flashier gadgets or much more technologically advanced gadgets as well. The question I have for you is, what are we doing to tackle the menace of e-waste, and are we doing enough?
See, as far as the policy is concerned for the e-waste handling, there's the EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, which has been given or implemented by the Pollution Control Board, where Pollution Control Board has made that producer of electronic and electrical waste or electrical product responsible for carrying out their waste from like supply chain management from the end customer to the recycler, the formal industries, right? Initially, they were not responsible. They were just selling it out, and customer has to take care of their e-waste, which they were not aware of. So now the policy is there in place where customer or the end customer or the bulk consumer, like corporate, maybe any big name, which they are using laptops, computers, monitors, and everything. Okay, and the consumers also, they are responsible to channelize their electronic waste till the recycler so that it can get properly recycled and it should not harm to the environment.
Okay.
Right? So the policy is there and everybody is working on that part, and many of the producers are responsible for their awareness also.
Okay.
See, PCB, one rule is the EPR, and the sub rule of that EPR is the awareness. And for the awareness also, the producers are responsible to make the aware of all the consumer, be it by giving a lecture or in the institutes or maybe a webinar or seminar, whatever the way they can conduct, they have to conduct it so that they can know the end customer where to approach to get the e-waste collected from their premises and how to get it recycled.
Okay.
Right. So these the policies are there, and everybody is working towards that.
Okay.
That
Okay.
is
So the rules have been put in place. Dr. Pandey, I'd like to bring you in here. You know, these rules which Mr. Sharma was referring to, they were brought in 2016, and you know, the other data which I referred to in my initial remarks point out that the number of countries with such kind of regulations or legislations to deal with electronic waste is going up day by day. That's a positive signal. Looks like, you know, the global governments are taking note of that as well. But again, the question is that the rules such as the ones put in place in 2016 in India, are they being implemented on the ground properly to tackle the challenge or the you know, the rising problem or the way the challenges are you know, increasing manifold from electronic waste, or do we need to you know, bring some tweaks here?
We need to bring in tweaks because I mean, merely notifying the rules will not ensure that collection and recycling will start happening overnight. The main challenge in e-waste compared to other waste streams is that when the consumer wants to part away with the waste, he expects something in return, and that varies from formal producers to informal collectors and recyclers. Mostly informal collectors and recyclers are in position to offer higher prices to consumer, and that's why consumer preference is basically to give it to informal collector and informal recycler. And that is what is need to be tackled on how government and manufacturers, formal manufacturers together bring in instrument which ensures that consumers don't end up giving their waste, electronic waste especially, to informal collection system. So that is where the change would be required.
Okay, okay. Ashwika, do you agree with Dr. Pandey there? And what's your assessment of the rules which are in place and the way they're being implemented, and what more needs to be done, if at all?
Okay, let me first address the rules. I think India is making the right moves in terms of the rules. The policies are heading towards the right direction, for sure. Things have been put in place, all of that is there. But I'm going to be a little bit cynical here and tell you that none of that really works unless the citizen is involved. Right now, to keep it very simple for you, if you start a regular conversation with regular people about e-waste, that conversation will end in 1 minute because most people don't have awareness about it. If they're returning their cell phone somewhere or giving something in exchange, it's because they're getting something in exchange or getting a certain amount of money back, etc. They're not giving it because of environmental reasons. They're not giving it because of e-waste reasons, correct? So that awareness among India, among the citizens of India, of every level of society, I'm even talking about the most upper levels of society, completely educated, that knowledge is not there. So the moment that the citizen is not involved, At the moment that the citizen doesn't feel like they're participating or is not exactly being involved, those policies are not being used to the best of their abilities. So while the government is trying its best, it's doing stuff. Even recently, I read something about waste to wealth the government has come up with. All fantastic. But we have to involve us. If we as citizens are not involved in that process, those particular policies are not being used to its best of its ability. That's my point of view.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Pandey, your view there, that's a very interesting and important aspect both Mr. Sharma and Ms. Kapur are pointing out here. The consumer awareness, until and unless we, the consumers, are involved on a very proactive basis, to deal with the challenges or the issue of electronic waste management, the rules themselves or the infrastructure itself might not be able to find a solution.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. I mean, unless, much like Swachh Bharat mission, it has to be taken on a mission mode. And people, unless they feel that what they're doing is doing immense harm to the environment in a longer run, and what is the impact of their one small little action, they would not be taking correct action or environmentally friendly action. So I completely agree with the two presenters that we as a consumer need to be more proactive and more responsible.
Okay, okay. Now, before I move on to other aspects, since you pointed that out, Ms. Kapur and Mr. Sharma has also already referred to what the producers are supposed to do as per the rules when it comes to consumer awareness. What more can be done? You're a science communicator. What more can be done to convince people or involve them at a larger scale, the consumers specifically, the citizens, in this entire exercise of dealing with electronic waste?
Right now, again, I'm just going to put it very simply and bluntly. Right now, something like environmental studies within India, environmental awareness within India is still a very bookish thing. It's tied up within a subject in a book, which is written in a very pedantic way, which becomes part of syllabus. It's still not part of the fabric of Indian education or awareness that much, because it's not in the mainstream. Environmental awareness is just not so much in the mainstream. Swachh Bharat, once it was brought into mainstream and really so much energy was put into it, Bollywood people were involved, politicians were involved, it became a big thing. That's when it kind of worked. Similarly with e-waste, it needs to become something that becomes totally mainstream. Unless that happens, and unless it's sort of a whole cross section of society gets to know about it through an entire mission.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't see how it works through putting it in a chapter in a book or being a part of the syllabus. Of course, those are great things, but those things remain within, it becomes theory. It's not something that sort of drives the point home.
Okay.
So if electronic waste really needs to be managed, and it of course really needs to be managed in India, because as far as I know, I might be wrong, I think India is the third biggest contributor.
Yes.
And I can totally understand that, because we are digital India, we are growing. I mean, we are a massively advancing country, so many people here. And how do you make recycling second nature to 1 billion people? To give you a small example right now, how much we are really behind in this. How many people segregate biodegradable from non-biodegradable waste at home, let alone where it's going? We don't even separate what we throw as like our vegetable garbage and our plastic garbage, and we put it all in the same place. Even that we haven't started doing. So how will we know how we are supposed to be segregating our e-waste? So I think in terms of that education and awareness, simply speaking from the point of view of a science communicator, because that is where my expertise lie, I feel India is way behind, way behind.
Okay, okay. So the solution there lies in mainstreaming or bringing this into the main focus, making it a people's movement, as has been done with Swachh Bharat. But let's shift focus from the consumer back to the producers once again. And two aspects there. I'd like to start with you, Shekhar. One is right to repair. The other is the shelf life of the product. Now, these two are very important aspects when we are talking about electronic waste management. One, the shelf life seemingly is going down drastically in terms of the new electronic items or gadgets which we are coming up with. The other aspect is the right to repair. Either the repair cost is exorbitantly high,
Correct.
or it's not possible, or it's not available in terms of genuine repair or genuine parts. So how do we deal with this?
See, as far as right to repair is concerned, see, there are two things. One, you said the shelf life. Shelf life is the product life which is before the selling of that product, the shelf life. Second is the life of that product. That could be for your mobile phone, it could be 2 years or 3 years. For your laptop, it could be 5 to 6 years or 7 years. And let's suppose we are talking about TV, so it is around 8 to 9 years. So this is the product life, right? During this product life, what consumer wants is they want a right to repair. Like, see, the tendency or that business model which we are running into the market of the electronic product is the repair cost of any of electronic products or electrical products is way beyond the budget, or we can say the pricing of the new product.
Indeed.
Right. So on that part, right to repair is basically once the warranty is void. Warranty is completed, 1 year or 2 year warranty that will be given by the producer. So after that, they should get a right to repair, like they can connect with the producer and they can get their product repair and they can use it till it's end the life, reach to the end of the life.
But that right to repair also has certain limitations there. You know, the repair cost or the spare part cost is so exorbitantly high that consumers will eventually not opt for right to repair.
Definitely. See, consumer can't control this, but somebody like government can control that kind of part also, like what are the components and what should be the pricing of that component, right? So that way only the consumer will be appreciated, or we can say they will be attracted to the repair part. Otherwise, they always good to see here, we can go and we can buy within that budget, we can buy the new product. So that will be easy for them, right? So that is there. Only thing is the control of that repair cost should be there. There should be some control mechanism so that they can ask for the repair. Otherwise, nobody asks for the repair.
Now, this is something which is happening globally. You know, in some of the countries, right to repair is a very significant movement, and some of the big producers have also made changes vis-a-vis that particular policy. Dr. Pandey, your views there, because these two might seemingly, look like the points which are, dominated or rather dictated by the market sentiments. But ultimately, it's the producers who will have to work on it and give consumers a choice there accordingly, which they can adopt.
Right to repair, interestingly, I mean, though it's not part of the e-waste rules or e-waste policy. Interestingly, if you see the market for refurbished products, electronic products, especially mobile phones and laptops, is growing in India. So that shows that maybe not original producer, but somebody is picking up the phones which have marginal problems and repairing them and sending back to maybe not the original owner, but to second generation, third generation owner. And so, I mean, repairing is already happening, maybe not as a right to repair, but in a refurbishment market. So this is important factor, and manufacturers will have to admit that the products which they put out in market should have reasonably long life. And there is also another interesting fact that the cell phones also, which we often say that the 2 years is their life when it reaches the consumer. CPCB estimates that it's around 4 to 5 years typical cell phone remains with the consumer. Maybe not with first consumer for that long, but most of the products after second repair, after second generation, third generation users, they spend at least 4 to 5 years with the consumer, not the original consumer. And that is how they also estimate make the inventory of e-waste once the product is sold, and how what will be the obsolescence rate for the product.
Okay. Ms. Kapur, this is very interesting here, because you're earlier talking about the consumer behavior and the consumer awareness as well, and you're right there as well. If for a consumer there are choices, if a consumer is spoiled for choices, ultimately, if he or she has the money, he'll go on for, he or she will go in for newer purchases, newer gadgets, the higher, technology in terms of the way he or she will have to buy those. But looking at this aspect, the life of product one and the right to repair as well, I can say that, both in all our childhood days, and Dr. Pandey would definitely agree with that as well. A television set at home
Lasts
would run
forever.
for more than 15 odd years. Nowadays, it becomes really difficult to see a television set run for 4 to 5 years maximum.
True. All you had to do was like give it a whack and then it would start working again. So those were the good days. No, but I absolutely agree, because see what happens is, for example, say your phone goes bad. And then you say, oh, the battery is gone. But then they say, battery kyun lenge? 1,000 mein to naya phone mil jayega. And then people just buy a new phone.
Exactly.
So get it. So it's a simple situation where, you end up paying so much for the repair / you end up spending so much time on the repair. That's another thing. Because electronic addiction / electronic dependency is so much that I may not want to give my phone away for a whole week. I may not want to give my phone, my laptop away for a whole week. So between a low shelf life, between expensive repairs, and the fact that they'll always tell you minimum 7 working days, the consumer ends up buying something new.
So do the rules here which we were talking about, or the regulations, need to make producers, responsible for that part?
100%, because this is not something that the consumer can at all do anything about. So if this is something where it's between the government and the producers for sure. Obviously, that's not something that I can sort of weigh in on in terms of what policies are required for that. But I know that this would have to be something between the government as well as the producers, because the rules have to be there, that it has to be easier repairs, it has to be much cheaper than what the cost of the actual gadget is, as well as it has to be within a reasonable amount of time. It can't be 10 working days, 20 working days, and then people will not ever opt for that.
Okay.
So those rules definitely have to be put in, because producers will obviously try their level best to find the loopholes and out-trick the system.
For them, it's also about the business model, sustainable business model, which they will have to work on.
So they will have to find the loopholes and try and trick the system. So that is something that has to we have to come down on that very strongly.
Okay. Dr. Pandey, do you agree that a tweak perhaps there vis-a-vis, ensuring the better shelf life or the product life, as Shekhar was pointing to specifically, and in terms of right to repair as well, availability of genuine spare parts at reasonable costs?
Yes. And in fact, some companies, as I remember, 4 to 5 years back, there were companies in Europe which are trying modular designs for the cell phone, where defective piece can be easily removed and a new piece can be put in a slot. But in those early days, the product was costlier than comparable product which was unmodular.
Okay.
And somehow, the idea didn't pick up.
Again, the economics of market didn't play along.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's the need. That's the need, and that's an interesting aspect which manufacturers will have to look at, and look at product which might cost little higher initially, but will last longer and can be repaired at much lower cost.
Okay. So there it is, some aspects. Thank you so much, Dr. Pandey, Ms. Ashwika Kapur, as well as Mr. Shekhar Sharma, for sharing your views and insight. As our experts were pointing out, there are various aspects when we're talking about the challenge of electronic waste management. Obviously, solutions do lie, and one of them is putting regulations or legislations in place, which India has done already in 2016. But then again, the crucial part is making the consumers aware of how to deal with electronic waste, and the other two aspects vis-a-vis producers, that is right to repair and a better product life in terms of the electronic products which we use. These aspects will also have to be re-looked at. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.